Okay, guys. Obviously, we've had 12 practices of the 15, and that is a body of work that has allowed us to see kind of where we're at, where we need to go, who we have, where we need to develop some things. I think we've been probably the biggest thing is that we came into it and we preached it every single day, all day long, and on every session of film work that we've done, and that we're going to play with extreme effort, and we're not going to tolerate anything less than the best effort you have, and they're starting to buy into that. It's been a process, but we're starting to see the results of that. I think this past Saturday in scrimmage, it was very evident that now is a focus. It's kind of hard for it not to be when they've heard it as much as they've heard it. We've also been very diligent in training technique and fundamentals of the game, and not trying to out-scheme everything, be technically sound in our fundamentals and our eye control, just the base rudiments of the game, and developing players, both young and old players, some of them that's played a long time. You're starting to see that show up. The other thing that we're big on is we've put a major emphasis on tackling, getting the ball knocked down, and of course when you create effort, then you get gang tackling, and it's a whole lot better to tackle with a bunch of guys than it is one. But we're making progress in that regard. I think in terms of overall view in the defensive line, Mons and Carl obviously are the old guys with Lawrence, and he is, those guys they've played a lot of football and played it very good. Roddy does a good job with them. That front group with Marlon, even as a freshman, Marlon's had really done some good things this spring. Jeffrey Holland is coming on. Then you've got the Byron. I mean, there's a large number of those guys, and I'm forgetting one or two I know. Paul James, there's a good many of those guys have good ability. They just need repetition. That repetition is starting to show up. At the linebacker position, I think I would tell you this, pleasantly surprised in terms of the progress. Travis has done a great job with the guys, but D. Davis and Deshaun Davis and the Williamses, Trey and Darrell and Atkinson, have really worked hard to progress in terms of just playing with their eyes and being fundamentally sound and being gap responsible and being physical. And they've made a lot of progress. Are we there yet? No. But we don't play until close to the start of September. So we've got plenty of practices left to get. If we keep building, then we have a chance to develop into a group that are very capable of doing their job up front. In the back end, I think probably the biggest thing you'll see is that we've moved guys around some. We played them at different positions. Stephen Roberts has played safety. He's played nickel or star. He's played corner. Davis is pretty much at corner. Dean has pretty much been at corner. Rudy Ford's back out there. Obviously, his quickness, his adaptability in the defense as a star has been very good. Ruffin. We're missing Trey Matthews. Hosley we're missing, so there's some guys there on the shelf that we look forward to getting in the fall practice. But the thing that they have done is we're communicating well. Wesley, Coach McGriff has done a really, really good job technique-wise with them. We're keeping things underneath us. I think probably the biggest thing that you would have noticed if you had seen the scrimmage Saturday was the ability to control snap after snap after snap, the explosive plays. We just didn't let things get out deep on us or long on us. And if you do that in this league, you got a chance. With that, I'll answer some questions.
Kevin, from what we saw out there in our short time out there today, there was, I think Byron was with the threes and Marlon was with the ones. How much does all that mean at this point?
Nothing. I mean, we move around. I'll be quite frank with you. We've tried to create a selfless group. We don't worry about where they are on the depth chart as coaches yet. We've got a lot of development time left. We tried to create a group that is selfless. It's all about the team. So we've actually by design moved some guys from first team to second team to third team, vice versa. Quite frankly, just to see how they're going to react. You going to pout and let you step on your lip, or you going to go play? And these guys have bought into that. They don't pay any attention to it. They just go play.
Yeah, you talked about the linebackers, and yeah, you said you got a long way to go, but how pleased are you with their development so far? You talked about some of those guys, but I mean, how far have they come?
Well, I don't know where they were.
Yeah.
Except day one when I saw them. And I know there's not a lot of game experience there, but they're instinctive. They're playing physical. They're quarterbacking the defense. They're doing the things that asked of them. And then, of course, we've got a chance up front with as many guys we got. That obviously plays into, playing linebacker behind Group A, Group B at different places can be difficult. And that's a pretty good group that they're playing behind, and Rodney's really got them playing better each day. They got a long way to go again. Coach's cliche, but the linebacker, that affects the linebacker play, and I think the guys feel comfortable and that, hey, trust the defense. Just do your job, and they're doing that. So they've progressed really nicely. The thing that always worries you before you know going in is what kind of instincts does a guy have. And until you've coached one you really don't know, they have good instincts. And if you got good instincts at linebacker, you got a chance.
What's been the most impressive thing about Marlon Davidson, and what are some things you want to tap the brakes on with him and slowly teach him some more things?
I don't have a break. I ain't tapping no brakes. We'll go as full speed and as fast as we can. He is a guy that's very physically, mentally, and emotionally mature. For a guy that should be going to a senior prom in the next week or so, if you watched it and didn't know, you'd think he'd been around here a couple of years. And that's the biggest thing. Now, does he have a lot to learn? Absolutely. But he is physically, mentally, and emotionally very mature, and that helps him.
How about Paul James and kind of that same regard?
Well, Paul, junior college, that's a year older, so it's not exactly the same thing. He has been out of high school, and so, he physically, he's a very, very talented young man. The surgery set him back because he's only practiced 6 practices, and then you got the conditioning factor on top of that. But you can see the skill set of why he's here. He's got a good skill set.
Kevin, Auburn really struggled to rush the passer the last couple of years when Carl Lawson was hurt. Have you developed some younger pass rushers? Who have you seen besides Carl that's performed well there?
Well, Jeffrey Holland has done a really good job. Jeffrey has really, Rasheen has done a good job as a speed rusher off the edge. Of course, there's big guys. We've actually moved Marlon some inside in past situations. But we preach about affecting the passer. And we're slowly but surely getting in that direction. You want to be able to do it with a 4-man rush, not have to pressure all the time, because you get the wrong quarterback and you pressure, and you get yourself in a bind. And so you need to be able to generate that with a 4-man rush. And we're of course the third down situations and those 2-minute situations, they've come up in the last 4 or 5 days in spring practice, not the early part. So the body of work we've got, we're not far into. But you can see that there's a group of guys that gives you the potential to be effective on the quarterback.
What have you seen from Marlon when you moved him inside? I know earlier in the spring when we talked, you said he was just.
Well, when we move inside now, that's passing situations. So we're only looking for pass rush. And, he's extremely quick and powerful for a young guy.
On your cornerbacks, Carlton Davis and those guys, how are they coming along?
Well, Carlton is again. You go to that emotional maturity, and it's really, really important at the corner position, because you got to be able to play the next play, and that's a hard job. It's a hard job. You're out there on the island, and it's hard. He has the physical tools. He's very technically sound. Wesley is a very, very good teacher. I think he's really bought into that style, and he's progressed very nicely. Dean has really. He had a very good scrimmage Saturday. So.
How's his battle with Javaris Davis kind of working out? We've seen both of them work with the first team while we've been out there. So how's that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we tell them that, I guess from where you sit, first team, second team, third team really is a major factor at this point in time where we're at. We're trying to get in this league to sustain it through the long haul. You're going to have 18 plus guys that are really starters. If you've got less than that, it's going to be hard sometimes. And so we tell them not to worry about that. Just when your number's called, go play, and they've done a nice job with that.
How pleased have you been with the progress of a guy like John Broussard coming in early?
Pardon me?
How pleased have you been with the progress of a guy like John Broussard coming in early?
He's got a real good skill set. I mean, I knew him through recruiting. Obviously, he was very, very highly recruited. He was highly recruited because he's got a skill set that is at a high level. And so, he's maturing and growing. Like I said, it's a hard position. It's a physical position. People don't realize that, but you got to have some strength and some weight to get up and press.
Kevin, knowing, I'm sure you know their struggles in the last couple of years on defense. Has it been surprising that you have maybe as much as you do? Did you expect that coming in?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what. I try not to evaluate the past too much because you don't know what the situation was. I mean, you don't know injuries, you don't know how games went, you don't know a lot of things. So I try not to do that. I just kind of look at it as, okay, show me. And I will say this, I think the biggest thing is the attitude that they've had about working hard and responding to demanding that you play with great effort and that you're physical and that you tackle. That the way they've bought into that has been, I wouldn't say a pleasant surprise, but I would say it has been very, it's been a joy to see.
Kevin, I know this time of year, trying to find the leaders for the next group kind of starts to develop. Have you been pleased with that so far, and who are some of the guys that you've seen kind of take?
Well, it's a little bit early for that so much, and let me assure you this, and this is philosophically my belief: if we've got to find the leaders, then we got problems. The leaders need to lead, and that needs to come from in that locker room. We have some guys that are doing a nice job with that, but it's got to come from that locker room.
Coach, how's T.J. Davis doing, the guy who wasn't able to play last year?
He's progressing. He's trying to get his strength back. That was a pretty good injury, as I understand, and he's trying to get his strength back, and his mobility looks good, but just sustaining the strength in it in a practice, because fatigue will get to those injuries, because that was, like I said, a pretty serious injury.
In terms of kind of your working relationship with Travis Williams, he mentioned that you're giving him a lot of freedom, even though you've obviously been a linebacker guy for so long, but he's kind of appreciative of the amount of freedom that he has. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a meeting room, so we go over everything, regardless of who was in there. And so we go over everything in the meeting room and talk through things, and he's a good football coach. He's very, very intelligent. The good thing about it is Travis has been in very similar systems as a player, both here and in the NFL, very similar to what we're doing. So when you've played it as well as been in it at the NFL level, that makes it a little bit easier. He's a very, very bright guy, and I think probably the easy thing that makes that probably, I don't know what he said, so I can't tell you exactly, is if he feels that way. Yeah, I think if he feels that way, that it comes from the fact that he's a very, very good teacher. He's a very smart guy, and we were on the same page when we started. That made it easy.
Coaching on the other side of the ball and seeing the quarterbacks live, that hasn't happened here, I think, in 3 years, but what's been your view of the quarterbacks and the way your guys have handled and bringing them to the ground, and how have the quarterbacks responded in your eyes?
Well, I am a defensive coach. I've been coaching long enough that if you ask me about a quarterback and I'm on defense, you better ask the head coach that question.
Coach, you mentioned in your opening, there's some things you want to develop, that you still need to develop with the defense. What are those things?
Well, I think it still goes back to the base rudiments of the fundamentals. I mean, we've got to, probably if you just said, other than the fact we've got to keep improving on the effort, the technique, the communication, the tackling part of it, the basic stuff, is that we've got to become better communicators. That would be the one thing that I think we've really got to, we've got to accelerate that very quick. in terms of just being great communicators, in terms of, okay, we've got this, so, okay, expect this. This is the check, and making sure everybody's got it. Just quarterbacking each other.
Kevin, we hear so much about Dante Avies and Montre Avies and Devereaux on the inside. What have you seen from Maurice?
Well, I mean, he fits in that category. I mean, there's a lot of good talented football players that give us the ability to utilize their strengths in different areas, different times in the game. He has a skill set that's a little bit different than those, but not that much. So there's going to be some things that we can certainly, that he does very well, and we can use him in those situations. Not that he's a situational player. It's not what I'm saying. It's just that, that's key.
Several players have said that you kept terminology from the previous regime, certain plays, or certain terms, things like that.
Right.
To make the learning process easier. Just how much have you done in that regard? To what extent is it more than the past? Because this is a group that's learning a third defense in 3 years.
No, that really wasn't the reason. I think it's just they're lucky in that we're off the same tree. Just like my previous job, they were lucky that guy was my best friend, and we've talked football for 30 years. So does that make sense? It was, but for as far as what they did last year here and what we're doing, it was, it's the same original playbook. Now, it's branched off a little bit in both directions. It made some things your own, but not that much.
How is that learning process going as a whole? Because when we spoke to you last time, it was only a couple practices in.
Yeah, and well, we've kept it pretty vanilla, simply because we wanted to find out who would play with toughness, who would play with great effort. And if you're thinking and you're worried about making mistakes and busting, that's hard to do. So we've kept it very, very vanilla.
So when you do install whatever now or at fall camp, is it a step by, do you look to install everything and then in a game we pare it down, or do you want to do it incrementally?
No, it's not so much everything. You install things that fit in the same category, so that if you tweak this or tweak that for the key components of the defense, it's just like. And so we actually got installed all but 2 of the components that if you will. The rest of it, but those were easy because they had already, it was actually a lot of it the same terminology.
Kevin, is there anything specific you're looking to get out of the 8A game on Saturday?
Yeah, some good quality effort, technique, toughness, tackling snaps. Just let them play football. It's got to where, as you well know, and I'm not complaining, it is what it is. And we've got to take care of the game, and I understand that. But when you're trying to develop young people to how to play the game, and you got 15 days, some of those are non-contact days, some of them are in shorts, some of them you're in shorts and shoulder pads, you can't tackle. There's very few limited opportunities anymore. We don't have preseason games like the NFL. And so there's very few limited opportunities where you can put the ball down and let the game be played, and then the situations, for an example, you got to learn how to play coming out. Put the ball down at the 3-yard line coming out. They got 97 yards to go. What kind of play caller is it? Do they throw it? Do they run it all the time? On 3rd down in 2 minutes to start the 2-minute drive. To start the 2-minute drive. How does a coach start the 2-minute drive? This coach started with runs, with screens. What does he do? Just to create all those scenarios so that their library gets an understanding of, okay, in this situation, this is the kind of things that happen. This is what we do defensively. Just to create all those situations in a game-like atmosphere, it's hard to do with limited days now.
Kevin, when it comes to Josh Folsey, do you guys have any idea yet what you want to do with him, or will you not know until he can go contact?
Well, I've watched film on him.
Yeah.
He has ability to play safety or corner, and of course he's coming back from an injury, so we'll have to evaluate that. But he's a very bright guy. He's been very good in the meetings, and I suspect that he's going to be fine.
Take one more or no more?
Kevin, the sub package you're using on a 4-2-5 kind of helps the linebacker depth that you don't have right now.
Yeah, but
your sub package is basically kind of your base package now.
Well, if they got 3 wide receivers on the field, there's not, but there's not very many people anymore that you put three wides on the field and they got three linebackers out there. I mean, there's not, that makes it a little hard. Because when you start going man coverage, then some man's got the wrong man.
You mentioned Jeff Holland just stepping up as pass rusher. What have you seen from him? What makes him a good pass rusher?
Well, that's kind of, you answered your own question. A good pass rusher is a good pass rusher. You got to have speed, explosion, quickness, good use of hands. You got to understand leverage. I mean, there's.
Does that come naturally for him, or is that thing?
Yeah, it does come naturally for him. He's very explosive. He's got quickness. He enjoys it. He's creative with his stuff, and really has done a nice job with it.
Coach, thank you very much.